Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode of GM Philosophy in the Morning. Today, we're talking about the psychology of player engagement, understanding what makes players invested. And I'm having this conversation as part 5 in my Deeper GM Craft lecture series. Now, every single one of these points is important, but points 5, 6, 9, and 10 are really crucial. So you're going to want to watch those. Point number 10 is going to blow your mind. You're literally going to be like, oh my God, I knew that, but I haven't been doing it. Like, that's what I thought of when I got to that point in my research. So you're not going to want to miss that. You're also going to want to make sure to jump in the GM Philosophy Discord. It's free. Jump in there, hang out with us. We talk about these things all the time. So let's continue the journey, continue the adventure in there. Link is in the description. So without further delay, let's go. Dungeons & Dragons is a social game. It's a social game where we work together collaboratively to tell stories. The stories of the characters, the player characters, and the game master is the one who fills in the pixels in that world around those characters. With that being said, TTRPGs face unique challenges when it comes to player engagement. We know that there are smartphones, there are computers, there is noise, there are screens all around us. How do you, as a game master, keep players engaged? What makes players invested? How do you understand how to get players to actually care about your game, to get invested in your game, to be engaged, to be focused in on it to such a degree that they're not mindlessly scrolling on their phones or failing to pay attention when things are going on? In order to answer these questions, we need to delve into the psychology of player engagement. What makes players invested? All right, now I did a little bit of digging into my psychological science and philosophical toolbox to come up with basically 10 points that point to answering this question. How do we keep players more engaged? How do we foster greater engagement while running games? And as a game master, some of these concepts may be very applicable to your games, helping you to run games that players will be a lot more engaged in. So we're going to start with number 1, intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. This comes from self-determination theory. And here's how it goes, basically. The definition: self-determination theory posits that people are most motivated and engaged when they experience autonomy, competence, and relatedness. The application to D&D is this: autonomy. Give players meaningful choices that affect the game world by allowing them to make decisions that genuinely matter, i.e., choosing how to resolve conflicts or shape the narrative. You deepen investment. Now, competence plays into this too. Let players feel skilled and effective. For example, awarding success for creative problem solving or role play. A sense of progression, leveling, and new abilities supports this perceived competence. This really helps players to feel more attached to the game when they feel like they are competent members of the story instead of just arbitrary. And then relatedness. Encourage cooperative play, party bonding, and shared stories. When players feel connected to each other and the DM, their emotional investment rises. So in other words, they need to have an emotional connection. This is often fostered through NPCs. Having NPCs come in, introducing them, making them a meaningful part of this character's adventure is going to foster some connectedness, and that helps the players to feel more engaged. Next, we have flow state. Definition: flow is a state of deep focus and engagement that occurs when the challenge of a task is well matched to a person's skill level. Quick note: I know that me reading through these things, through this research, is a little bit dry, but it is so crucial. If you really want to go deep with your GM craft, if you really want to go deeper, if you really want to run games that are going to leave your players amazed at the immersion they felt, at the connection they felt, then these concepts are crucial and important. So this flow state concept is actually highly important. You're going to want to tap into this. Here's the application to D&D. Balancing challenge and skill. Aim to present encounters, combat or social, that are neither trivial nor impossible. This just right level of challenge helps players enter a flow state. Clear goals and immediate feedback is also relevant. Provide transparent objectives, e.g., rescue the prince within 3 days, and consistent immediate feedback, e.g., you see the guard's reaction change. This keeps players immersed. Now let's move on to point number 3, narrative transportation and identification. Hot take, if you want to be an actual pro level GM who blows your players' minds, this might be one of the most important tips in the list. Here's the definition. Research on narrative transportation shows that people become more engaged when transported into a story, identifying with characters and the narrative's emotional journey. Here's the application for D&D. Rich storytelling, a well-crafted setting, evocative descriptions, and relatable NPCs help players become transported into the world. Character arc. Encourage players to develop personal backstories and motivations. This personal narrative fosters deeper engagement as they see their characters' growth mirrored in the campaign's unfolding story. This idea of transporting players into the game world really speaks to immersion, and it's so important and is a massively powerful way to get them to be more emotionally connected to the story being told by your collaborative gaming efforts. Hello, I'm the GM Philosopher. I wanted to take a quick break from today's program to just thank you so much for watching the channel. As the founder of the channel, I am eternally grateful and appreciative of everyone who clicks on the videos, watches them, and enjoys our favorite hobby together with us. With that being said, I do have something I want to give you. This is an ebook I created called The Ultimate Plot Randomizer. It allows you to roll random plot arcs on the fly using 4 awesome D100 tables. Roll on the hook table, the complication table, the climax table, and even on the wild and wacky table to come up with plot arcs that your characters would never see coming. If your player characters are anything like mine, sometimes they do wild and unexpected stuff that leaves you wondering, what the heck am I going to do about this? And this ebook was designed to handle specifically those types of situations. You can grab it by clicking on the link in the description, sign up for my email list, and within about 15 minutes, you'll get that first email, which will contain a download link to your free ebook. Plus, this will sign you up for the GM Philosophy mailing list to keep you updated about news, special events, and other awesome stuff that we send out in our email list on a weekly basis. Grab that, print it out, throw it in your toolkit, boom, you'll never go without another plot arc ever again. All right, now let's get back to the video. Now let's move on to point number 4, which is actually really interesting. And if you've played any D&D, then you already are going to recognize this. This is called the magic circle. Here's the definition. The magic circle is a philosophical concept describing how play or a game creates its own space, separate from everyday life, where special rules and meanings apply, i.e. the game rules. Here's the application to D&D. Sacred space of play. When players sit around the table, they enter a space where fictional events take on real emotional weight. Emphasizing and respecting that boundary helps sustain immersion. This leads to safe environment. Players feel free to experiment with personality traits, moral questions, and creative decisions that they might avoid in real life. And this is due to the safe environment. So the importance of this is this. When you create that magic circle at your game table, that magic circle where within the game things feel real to a certain point and separate from the outside world, you will be massively successful in helping to create more immersion and getting your players more engaged, because it will really feel not only like a safe and sacred place to play with ideas and concepts, but a place where it really will feel real to a certain degree, and this boosts engagement. Now let's move on to point number 5, role-playing and social identity theory. You're going to like this one. Once again, I realize that me reading these descriptions like this probably comes off as a little bit dry, but roll that concentration check to stay engaged, because these tips are so important, and this one is absolutely pivotal to running games that will keep your players' attention. Here's the definition. Social identity theory examines how group membership influences self-conception. In RPGs, players adopt new group identities, for example, a heroic party, and personal identities, their characters. And here's the application to D&D. Shared group identity, bonding over party goals, for example, we're the heroes who defend the realm from undead invasions, fosters unity and shared purpose. Shared purpose is such a key term. Please remember that term. Individual differentiation also plays a role here. Players also crave distinctiveness, for example, personal backstories, class, and alignment. Balancing belonging to the group with individuality keeps engagement high. This plays right into the need in this shared intellectual art space for not only a group identity based on the game world and in that immersion, but also for individual identities, which makes room for players to role play those characters, and this leads to deeper engagement, which translates to players caring more about the game, paying more attention to the game, and just in general being more interested in what's going on. It will help to downsize distraction and just make the game that much more immersive and connecting. Hey, real quick, GM Philosopher here, and I have 3 questions for you. Do you love adventure? Do you love random roll tables? Do you love supporting small creators who love creating content about TTRPGs, including the one you're watching right now? Then I have the perfect ebook for you. The Ultimate Adventure Generator is a massive collection of 163 random roll tables on 310 amazing print-friendly pages. This ebook contains random roll tables governing nearly every single aspect of adventure creation. Just take a look at these chapters. Selecting the adventure theme, defining the main quest or objective, choose the setting or location, determine key NPCs, generate obstacles and challenges, add complications or plot twists, select important items or MacGuffins, establish the adventure hook, determine subplots or side quests, and so much more. And just take a quick look at even one of these chapters. This is chapter 3, choose the setting or location. Random roll tables for primary environment, specific location type, condition of the location, unique setting features, historical background of the location, current inhabitants, magical or technological presence, cultural influence, hidden secrets, dynamic events, environmental hazards, seasonal or temporal effects, and a D100 table of plug and play quest settings and locations. Literally, a narrow mountain pass shrouded in perpetual mist, a scorched canyon of red stone rich in glowing veins and ore, etc. And that is just in chapter 3. GM Philosophy prides itself on its mission of empowering game masters to run games that are more fun for themselves and for their players, but we could not do it without the support of our generous viewers like you. The creator you are watching right now has given their time, their energy to the channel and the community to help create content for you that we hope you will love. And if you would love to support the channel, one of the best ways to do it is by purchasing one of our products like this one and giving back to the community and awesome creators that make it happen. Link is down in the description. This ebook sells right now for just $5.99. For just $5.99, you can support this channel, the awesome creators who make it happen, and get yourself some amazing random tables to make your adventures, bam, even better than ever. So don't delay. Grab that ebook down in the description. I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for your generous support. And now let's get back to the video. All right, item number 6 is really interesting, and I'm going to tell you what, you may not have thought of this one before. Empathy, theory of mind, and perspective taking. Here's the definition. Theory of mind involves understanding others' mental states, emotions, desires, intentions. Role-playing often requires stepping into someone else's shoes. Did you know that you can actually leverage empathy as a tool to get players way more engaged in the game? And here's the application to D&D. Character embodiment. Encouraging players to empathize with their own and each other's characters deepens immersion. Moral and ethical dilemmas. Presenting choices that test empathy or moral viewpoints can be emotionally gripping, prompting reflective engagement. If you want to get your player characters even more engaged, even more immersed, then getting them to step more soundly into their characters' roles and also to help understand the roles of the other characters can really help to do that. This is a mental exercise that will draw them deeper into your game. Let's move on to point number 7, and this one starts to get deeper. You're really not going to want to miss this one. In fact, while all of the others that we've talked about up till now are really important and foundational, these next 4 points are so advanced and crucial that you are seriously going to miss out if you do not listen. So I realize this video is going on a little bit longer, but if you really want the actual hardcore meat of this topic, please watch these last 4 topics. It is going to pay off so big if you deploy these in your games. Here's what it is. Group cohesion and Tuckman's stages of group development. Definition. Tuckman's model describes how groups go through forming, storming, norming, and performing. Here's the application to D&D. Forming. Players learn each other's playstyles and set group expectations. Storming. Conflicts about party direction or character decisions can arise. Norming and performing. Over time, the party learns to coordinate effectively, building trust and deeper engagement. A DM can facilitate healthy resolution of storming to help the group bond. In D&D, this really comes down to consistency, to continuing to drive immersion, continuing to give the group basically team building exercises in the form of conflicts, giving them moral, ethical dilemmas and challenges that will help them to work together, that will make it so that it's in their best interest to work together using their differences to combine a coordinated team. This will not only make the game more fun and will make the individual characters shine, but it will also draw them in closer, getting them to focus more specifically and being more engaged in the game that you're all playing together. And this is going to lead us to point number 8, gamification elements. Here's the definition. Using game design elements, points, levels, achievements, in non-game contexts has been shown to increase engagement, but only when aligned with intrinsic motivation. Okay, here's the application to D&D. Progression systems. D&D inherently uses leveling, experience points, loot, and achievements, i.e. completing quests, which taps into both intrinsic, sense of accomplishment, and extrinsic motivators, tangible rewards. Now, moderation is the key. Overemphasizing extrinsic rewards can undermine intrinsic interest, i.e., if a game becomes too loot-centric, some players lose narrative engagement. So this is what this really comes down to. It kind of comes down to scarcity. You want to make sure not to overload the player characters with so many rewards that you basically bog down the gamification element of it and take it away. You want to keep the gamification element related to the role play. This means letting characters level up, but not too often, giving them in-game rewards, but not too often. When you properly balance this, it really helps to keep players engaged, more excited about what's going on. They're like wanting that new thing. And then when they finally do get it, oh, that feels awesome. But now their sights are set on the next thing, but it's going to take a little while, i.e., in the meantime, they'll be focusing, they'll be more engaged, etc. All right, we're getting down to some of the most important ones, and let's dive right into number 9, emotional safe havens and psychological well-being. I promise this does not mean what you think it means. This is actually really deep. Let's dive into it. Here's the definition. Studies on tabletop RPGs, some research in counseling psychology, suggests that role-playing can boost creativity, social skills, and emotional well-being. But here's the application to D&D. Self-exploration. Characters often represent aspirational aspects of oneself or let players safely explore challenging emotional scenarios. For example, facing fears, grappling with moral questions, etc. Community and support. Engaging with a supportive group can provide emotional benefits, reducing stress and fostering a sense of belonging. Let me give you a very real example of this. When I first started playing in William's game, playing my lawful evil Minotaur Bard, Gromizek, there wasn't a point within me where I was like, I'm exploring this evil character. I'm not an evil person, but I want to play this evil character. But how far can I go with this GM? Is this GM going to let me actually go the full spectrum with this character, or am I going to have to hold back? Am I going to have to withhold a little bit of what I really want to role play? And see, this was me trying out those safety bounds. How authentic can I really be? And when you give your characters room to actually explore the psychology of these different mindsets, but then you are willing to go down that road with them, then you open up a place where they are more incentivized to pay attention, to be engaged, to really get deeper with the narrative. And this is going to lead us to point number 10, which is perhaps the most important. So we have saved the most important for last. Let's dive into it. Balancing predictability and novelty. Here's the definition. From a cognitive perspective, humans are motivated by finding patterns, predictability, but also stimulated by novelty, surprises, and plot twists, etc. And here's the application to D&D. Predictable framework. The rule set, dice mechanics, character sheets, initiative order, etc., provides comforting structure, okay? But then novel encounters and twists play a huge role. Keep the game fresh with unique encounters, unexpected challenges, or surprising NPC motivations. This balance helps maintain long-term engagement. And really, this is a push-pull mechanic. On one hand, we set a solid foundation with predictability, but too much of that gets stale, it gets boring, and then players are going to lose engagement. Whereas when you bam, 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 you hit them with novelty, you hit them with surprise, you hit them with unexpected things. This is going to get their attention focused in. If it's all novelty, all surprise, they're going to get overwhelmed and lose focus. But when you combine that predictability with that novelty, that's the classic magic ingredient base for a game that really gets player attention, gets them focused, gets them actually interested and excited about it. And this will keep them off their phone, keep them focused on your game and on what is happening in your world. And that, my friends, is going to be a wrap for today. Thank you for coming back for another episode of GM Philosophy in the Morning. I'm here every single day creating videos about the best game in the world, D&D. I'm also here every day, Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time for Coffee Break Live. And I've been doing call-in shows. So you can call in with your questions, with your conversation points. And I would encourage you to join the Discord because that's the best way you can kind of stay up to date on what's going on with that. So with that being said, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming back. Roll a few D100s for me at your next game coming up. And hey, I will see all you awesome people on the next one.